Welcome everybody to this bonus episode of Battle Chads this week. I am Josh and I'm with my co-host Luis.
Hello everyone. How you doing?
And this week we've got another very special guest as a follow-on from our last pod where we had a member of the Chad Magic team. We've got another member of the Chad Magic team, one of the more, I'd say, decorated members of the team. We've got Tom Duffy with us. Tom, how are you?
Fine, thanks, and great to be on board.
Excellent. So before we go on to this will be a Decktech pod, a Decktech video. But before we move that, can you do a quick introduction on yourself? Tell us about your Magic career. Tell us a little bit about yourself, and when you started playing, etc.
Oh, come on. Are you sure we need that, Josh? Who doesn't know? Especially around these parts, who doesn't know good old Duffy? The Tron player, the devastator of everything that's fun and enjoyable in Magic, the mono green aficionado. This guy, man.
Thank you. So yeah, I know I've been playing since Born of the Gods in Ferris Block. Started playing then. I didn't probably go into competitive until probably about a year after that. Started trying to actually go to the Pro Tour now. Being able to do that now twice. One of them was with Tron. It's the reason why it's why it foiled it out. And now, there is my lovely, first ever Pro Tour playmat. So obviously that's now hanging up there. I'll keep on using, keep on staying there. But yeah, I mainly do a lot of now Eternal formats. I didn't do standard, for example, this season and stuff like that, due to family commitments and that, as you know very well, Josh.
I do know very well.
Having a young son. Yeah, having a young son and that, things change. Not like Louise, who's free and can play any deck and not need to worry about money. Someone must have to stay with Tron because he can't afford anything else.
Says the man with the... How many grand is that Tron deck? I'll make sure your wife gets a copy of this video, by the way, so she can find out for you.
She's aware, and she also knows it's Leo's inheritance.
Oh yeah, that's a funny thing, right? But both Josh and Duffy's kid are both called Leo.
Yes, one's a bit younger than the other, to be fair.
Yeah, goated name. Anyway, so you've been playing Pioneer this season. You did start the season off with the mono black waste knot deck, but you've moved on to the deck we're going to talk about today, which is mono green devotion. Tell us about your Pioneer season thus far.
A bit of a mixture, really. Roller coaster, because I actually started with Phoenix with Louise. We all went on the same one, and quite literally the one Louise won. I got beat in the quarterfinals, and when we were having that discussion at the end, coming home, I didn't feel like there was anything that skill-wise made any difference, and I was like looking around, and I thought, okay, I can't. If I'm always going to play against the mirror, my skill is not going to be any use. That's why I switched over. I wanted to have a deck that could beat Vampires and Phoenix. Why I went to Mono Black. Obviously, the meta's changed quite a bit, including a certain combo that everyone loves and can't wait to be banned. I will not name the deck. I think people know that.
Amelia. I think it's Amelia, right? Amelia, right, Josh? Amelia.
I will not say it because I can't.
Amalia, good old Amalia combo. Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah, Amelia combo. Yeah, that's the one. Sorry.
Love you, Josh.
Love you too.
But yeah, no. Because of that coming out as well. And now mono green's coming back. As soon as I seen this, I was like, okay, this is a deck that is more my style as well. Picked it up. Felt very similar to the old version of Khan and that before it was banned. A lot of tweaks though, to be honest, at first playing it, but it didn't take too long to actually pick up and really learn the deck.
So the old mono green that people are aware of, with the old Karn combo, where you can eventually, I think it was mill the person out, or have an infinite combo. Tell us with this new version what the game plan actually is, and are there any combos or any sort of nasty broken stuff that the game can evolve into?
Yeah, there is you can actually not consistently, but you can consistently maybe turn 4 or sometimes turn 3 kill your opponent by combo kill. The actual key card of this is, as you could probably guess, Leyline of the Guild Pack. This is giving our devotion dramatic amount in a very short period of time, but we're also using that and basically making up a lot of mana to be able to use Ovenwald Oddity. This is a simple 4 mana for 4/4 trample haste. Nothing too broken. But then for 7 mana, so 2 green and 5 regular, you can transform it. It becomes an 8/8. It gives everything +1/+1, trample and haste. So, as you can guess, if we're making so much mana and we're just, even if you're putting down Elvish Mystics, Alana, or Elves, you can make a board very quickly and deal 20 like it's nothing.
Yeah.
So it's a bit of a Crater Hoof at home kind of situation here.
Yes.
Am I right in thinking there's sort of like an infinite card draw engine as well? Or an engine in where you can just keep drawing lots and lots of cards and then use that mana to then, because you have so much mana, you can just essentially play pretty much every card you draw?
Yeah, so we obviously the old time we have Kiora. That's be able to, most of your creatures are making you able to draw 1 card, but there is also a new card that came in, Outcaster Trailblazer. So this has Kiora, but it has it on a stick in a sense.
Mm-hmm.
The good thing about it as well is it can be plotted for the same mana cost, but also even if you're playing it, even though it is 3 mana, it's only 2 mana because you get 1 green mana back from it.
Yeah.
So you can actually play this and play it in the later game, which is great against certain matchups, i.e. like control. Or you can just play it outright to be able to draw more cards. And having this copy with Kiora, you're drawing 2 cards from 1 creature. Have that with Storm of the Festivals. You can draw so much of your deck. I genuinely won in the last RCQ. I had 5 cards left in my deck, quite literally, and that was like 10-5.
Brilliant. So that's sort of what the deck does. Sort of the little profs of playing these big green cards as well as the ley line of the guild pack, etc. So why don't we go into the rest of the deck? We'll start with the creatures. Obviously, we've already spoke about the Trailblazer. Obviously, you've got the Elvish Mystics and the Llanowar Elves in there, 4 of each. But yes, do you want to just talk about the rest of the creature package? Then we'll move on to the rest of the deck.
Yeah, so like we said, we were talking about the elves. These are really important. Obviously, you want mana accelerant at the start. The good old bolt the birds, as they say, is really crucial for our opponents. But we can, if for instance left unchecked, with that and quite literally a 1 overland and a Nickfoss, we're making 5 if you have Leyline out. 5 mana on turn 2, which is ridiculous. Obviously, with that, then we can play other creatures. So, like, for example, our Old Grove Trolls. So this is just adding into Devotion because it is 3 pips for 3 mana. So, it's a net. It's just netting you more and more in the longer term. Plus, it's just a good 4/4 trampler because, that's good enough on its own. Let alone if your opponent kills it, it stays on the battlefield, makes your forest tap for 2 green mana as well, and make another 4/4 as well if you need to later on to draw more cards from your Trailblazer or your Kiora.
And you can do this at instant speed too, can't you? So you can do this in their turn. So if you've got a Trailblazer and a Cure out, you make this in their turn, you draw 2 cards, untap, and then you're sort of recocked, good to go for that turn.
Yeah. And then last but not least, for creatures wise, you got your Cavaliers of Thorns. So this is we're using this to dig through to find our Nykthos. But it's also very handy again for devotion. You got 3 pips in there, which is really handy. But it also helps with a way of getting a combo kill in there because of us milling the cards. But we'll go back into that a little bit later when we're talking about the land base of why it's so important.
A good keyword for this card as well, as Phoenix can attest to Luis can attest playing Phoenix, is that it has a 5/6 with reach, which is really, really important because usually the stompy decks are usually big, beefy ground creatures, and the way to beat these sort of decks is to fly over them. And obviously, Cavalier Thorn says no to that plan.
He is a thorn in our sides for sure. Not only can he reach the flying creatures, he's also a 5/6. Unfortunately, none of our spells deal 6 damage. It's 5 as we're really capped at. Exactly. Very annoying creature.
So we spoke about Kiora. It obviously untaps a permanent, so you can untap the Nykthos to make even more mana. It also has a ETB trigger for when a creature of 4 or greater enters the battlefield, you can draw a card. So let's move on to the battle.
Yeah, this is... So I used to play this in the old car, not at 4 of, but the more I've played with this card, the more it's actually genuinely impressed me. It's a simple thing, but it does so much. 2 mana, look at the top 5 cards. When you are looking at them, you may put any permanent card. So basically, you fetch your whole deck, except for Storm the Festival. You can pick up any card from that, and then put them all away in a random order. The good thing about this as well is you can actually attack this on your, on your opponent, and it makes it into a 4/3. Which again, if you've got Kiora out, if you've got Trailblazer out, you're drawing more cards if you need to. Which again, it's great in certain matchups if you need to refill your hand. And also, if for instance it's still alive, then you play any green spell, it's indestructible for that turn, which is just annoying anyway on its own.
Yeah.
It's the type of really card, right, that replaced Oath of Nissa. Oath of Nissa used to be multiple copies. Now there's just one. But now you're playing this new battle because the effect is that much better that it was worth replacing, even at 2 mana.
Yes. Oath of Nissa does hit only a couple of things in our deck, whereas this is going through your cards a lot more. You really need to hit Nykthos. You really want to see Nykthos, whereas the old one, you could dawdle around and play until eventually you get card and that. You can still win with your beatdown deck, because you have the Hydras and stuff like that, but the more likelihood you're trying to Nykthos and use a lot of mana.
Fair enough. That makes a lot of sense to what style of deck this is trying to be. No longer do you have the sit on mana until you reach Karn and then get your toolbox. Now you have to play a lot more to what's in your deck instead of what's in your sideboard.
Exactly.
And then we move on to the only sort of spell in the deck in terms of sorcery. Storm the Festival. The Coco on steroids.
Yeah, if you played with if you've seen in Mono Green before, this hasn't changed. This was in when Khan was in there. Look at the top 5 cards of your library. You may put 2 permanents with mana value 5 or less. Oh, look, in our entire deck, basically, onto the battlefield. Put the rest of them on bottom order in a random order, and you can flashback it for 10, which sounds a lot. I mean, you can do this quite easily, honestly, with this deck. You can make 10 I think I made one turn 20 odd devotion. 22, I think it was on the last RCQ, like it was nothing.
I've
2 flashbacks.
Yeah, I've played against this deck before, and often enough, with the the untapped feature of Kiora on Nykthos, you can make 20 plus mana potentially easily enough. Like 10 mana is nothing. And then you play this card and then untap the Nykthos with Kiora and then go again with the flashback.
I mean, clearly all you need to do is Storm of the Festival into 2 Ley Lines of the Guild Pact. Boom! That's 8 devotion right there. That's the best play possible, right?
I mean, I tell you what, I've done that already. I did do that in the RCQ because it was like, okay, I can then flashback and go into the things that I needed to do because I just had the devotion. Little hints for people who are first picking this up. If you can use your Nykthos, activate it before you storm, because if you, for example, hit your Kiora, you're gonna have to legend rule maybe a Kiora and stuff like that. You can't just and then in response tick it down. That doesn't work. Same with Nykthos. You know, if you can't legend rule it straight away, they will just go straight to the bin. So use them first before you decide to actually storm the festivals. It's a simple little thing. People, think, oh yeah, that's obvious. But when you're first new to the deck, you really don't realize that until you make that mistake. You do it once and then go, okay, I won't do it again.
Learn from your mistake. So we talked about the oath. We talked about the oath in this. So you've got one over here. Now we've also spoke about Leyline of the Guild Pack. But one question I wanted to ask about Leyline of the Guild Pack is how vital it is it to have Leyline in your opening hand? Like, do you mulligan for this, or do you just keep, if it's a good hand, you keep it, and then you could eventually draw it and then play it? Like, so how key is Leyline of the Guild Pack in your opening hand?
For your busted hands, key. Do I mulligan for it? No. What I'm looking for is what can I do for the first 3 turns? Kind of thing. I want to be able to start seeing if I can get a card draw engine going, for example, whether that's Kiora or Trailblazer. Obviously, if this is in the blind, if I know what I'm against, sometimes it's better to have the slower hands. So even having no elves, if I'm against control, for example, the game's going to go long. I don't mind having 2 land hand, Trailblazer, Kiora, no way of having the 3rd land at that point, because it will go long. They're not going to kill me quickly. So it really does depend on what you're against. Now, for your busted hands, yes, Guild Pack is like the most important thing. It's really good against Niv as well. I did have that on one of my RCQ opponents. Tried to go a certain card that can only do a monocolor.
Yeah, I never thought about that. It's brilliant.
Oh, it was great. They were like, yeah, I want to exile this. I was like, nope.
That's
can't
rough.
shadow reverse that.
That's so rough.
It's like that Jurassic Park thing. No.
One thing that does interest me from this entire deck, obviously, a lot of the creatures and everything, they kind of do what they say. It's quite obvious what they're trying to do. You explained the combo with Overwhelmed Behemoth and all that stuff. But the land base is quite peculiar. It is a mono green deck. It has a ton of forest, as you'd expect, some of Seiju's, as you'd expect. But then you have a card like Hostile. What's going on there? What is the purpose of this card?
So not every mono green deck that you'll see play this. This was an iteration brought up by somebody. I don't know who. I'm not going to give anybody credit in that because I genuinely don't know. But the idea with this is sometimes with Cavalier Thorns, you are milling through your deck and, oh no, you've lost your Overworld. They're both in the bin.
Mm-hmm.
How can you get them back? Well, one of the ways is actually using Hostile. What we'll do with the Hostile is basically tap it, sacrifice the Cavalier. Cavalier then, with the ability on the stack, will exile it. We'll put the Overworld back on top of our library, draw it, and hey ho, we have it straight away, being able to have another haste guy. People call this training wheels. I've heard people like other mono green players call it with training wheels. Genuinely, I disagree now after playing with it quite a few times. It has saved me. I had to do this against a Quintorius combo player. I had one already in board, but he had I sniffed out that he had a way to be able to return one to my hand. If that was the case, nothing gets haste. So I actually carried on with the combo to be able to do this and get the second one out as they're not legendary rule and transform both of them. So he had no way out to be able to guarantee the kill.
Brilliant.
Very nice. Do you ever get to flip it?
I've never once. I'll be honest now. I probably could because I just untap Kiora constantly if I really wanted to and stuff. But not to this day yet.
Fair enough.
So you've got 2 Presagers, pretty obvious what they're in for. It's on colour and it's utility lands, really good solid card, particularly in Pioneer. You Lair of the Hydra. You've alluded to this, but I presume that Lair of the Hydra is just another mana sink and threat.
Yes. People will constantly think, oh yeah, I'm safe. They're not able to combo off and that. But sometimes I don't even need to combo off of, okay, the board's clear. I can make this lair a 10-10 with my other guys and that, you're dead. You don't need to actually go completely off, and that Lair of the Hydra can just absolutely kill people out of nowhere.
We spoke about Nykthos. It's pretty much the backbone of this deck. Nykthos is what makes this deck so broken, so good. And then we have the 2 of Sunken Citadel. Now,
just to be able to help you with Nykthos, I don't think it's necessary. If, for instance, people are on a budget, 2 more forests are perfectly fine.
I mean, it's not really. I think if you're on a budget, you're probably not playing Nykthos, to be fair, because that card is what it says on here. TG Goldfish, $150 a play set.
Is that how much it is now?
Yeah, it's ridiculous considering it.
See, this is when I first started. I had this card because that was the set I literally started it. I'm very fortunate on that then.
And considering I've only ever seen this played in Pioneer as well, so it's like a one-trick pony sort of card, and it's so expensive.
Back in the day, it was played in Modern a little bit.
Was it?
Yeah, just for a little while. Some of the Gary decks.
I'm pretty sure it wasn't $150 a playset then.
Oh no! It was way cheaper, way cheaper.
So let's talk
Commander as well. Like, any devotion deck they'll love that.
Say less. Yeah. If I can blame Commander players for all my problems, I'm there.
So let's move on to the sideboard now. So let's talk about the sideboard that you've been playing first, which is the one on screen. And then we'll talk about sideboard considerations. And you've actually developed your sideboard since your last tournament. Let's talk about this one first. So if you just run through the cards for us.
Yeah, of course. So we've got Cityscape Leveler. Start with this guy. This is for a certain couple of matchups, like your mid-range kind of matchups and vampires. Yes, we can't get it with Storm in the Festivals, but it's good removal. And an 8/8 is very hard to remove in general. For certain, mid-range kind of matchups, like the vampires, yes, they can actually remove it. Any black mana can basically remove it if they have the right tool. But it's also good against control and stuff like that because it's a big dude. And if they're getting rid of it, we can still unearth it. And it's still doing 8 damage very quickly. Move over to Emrakul, Promised End. This is more against your control matchups and Niftalite kind of thing. The game's going to go long. We might not have Nykthos or something like that. Being able to take control of their turn can be really devastating against them. We don't bring it in against too many decks, if I'm honest. But the decks that we do bring it in, it can be absolutely brutal for them.
Just before we continue with your explanation of your sideboard, I will remind people that we're not going to go through sort of what you bring in, what you bring out in certain matchups, because Duffy has very kindly produced a sideboard plan that we're going to attach to this podcast, and you can look at that, download it or whatever, completely free of charge. So we appreciate you doing that for us, Duffy.
Of course. Anyone to play this fabulous deck, any mana ramp deck is always me.
You make me sick.
The next one is God, I love it. Give me all the hate. It's great.
If you guys need a good counter to this, don't forget we also have a mono red, really fast aggro deck that tends to do quite well against this. It's also somewhere in our podcasts. Take a look at that one.
Unless you're playing Bailofs. Oh wait, we're playing free. So yeah, we got free in the sideboard for Bailofs. They are for our aggro matchups. Gaining 4 life, it's not on turn 4. It's usually a lot earlier than that for ourselves. And also, to be honest, it's also great against Waste Not, because if they go, randomly discard a card, here's a Bailoff. I'll gain 4 and I just got to cast it for free.
Nobody expected the Spanish Bailoff.
We've got Pick Your Poison. I think this is just a staple for many green decks nowadays. It does so much. Great against Phoenix, great against Vampires, and Soul Artifact. Aggro as well. I actually do bring this in against aggro. A lot of people think a bit, why? You're not thinking about a creature. But they're, like, for example, Mono Red, Gruel, and that. They have a lot of enchantments that are worth to actually just bring it in nowadays.
It kills Kamano.
Yeah.
It's one of the main reasons, honestly. Like, it really makes a difference. And it also gets rid of Slick Shot.
Yeah.
Yes, you might have to take a hit, but you might not with Cavalier. It might be like, all right, trade with Cavalier, pick your poison. All right, Cavalier's put something on top that I care about.
This card is seriously, arguably, and I think currently from everything we've seen, the single best sideboard card of 2024. If not more than just that. It's a really strong sideboard card.
It's very good.
Yeah,
I enjoy playing this in. I have copies of this in my Pioneer deck. I wouldn't leave it with any less than 2 copies in the sideboard.
I think even in forgetting Pioneer, like Modern, Legacy, like it's seen everywhere.
Yeah.
We got Tail Swipes. So this is your removal. As you can guess, our removal is not as good as anyone else's. We are mono green. We don't have kill spells, really. We have our fight spells instead. But the good thing about our fight spells is all our guys are big. So this is really good against Amalia and humans if we do see it. But to be honest, we don't bring it in against a lot of decks. It is mainly here for Amelia.
Don't
just
start
for
with
you,
this
Josh,
again.
by the way. Sorry, but yeah, no, it's mainly here for Amalia matchup, to be fair. If, for instance, Amalia does get banned, fingers crossed, I don't see us playing too many of these. If any, the sideboard might change a lot on that part.
Yeah. And we've got 2 more cards to talk about.
Yeah, last 2. So the Stone Brain, this is very good against a lot of combo decks. Very good against the Mirror. Some people don't bring her in. I do, because sometimes just being able to name Nick Voss, which got me past the semifinals, quite literally, makes a big difference, because they can only play fair Magic, whereas then you can just do whatever you want.
Yeah.
And like I said, your combo matchups and that, you name the combo piece, you're in a pretty strong place. And the most controversial one, I don't rate this, is Unlicensed Hairs. So this is for your graveyard decks. And if I'm being honest, the only deck I ever bring it in is Phoenix. Greasefang if it's anywhere, which I know we have Josh here who loves a bit of Greasefang.
Hello.
But we don't have much Greasefang around nowadays.
I don't get why the deck is goated. Honest.
Because of your favorite Amelia.
Amalia.
Hey, he's getting there.
Did they get it right?
Sorry. Yeah, Amalia. Yeah. But even, Hearse is one of those cards that I find it's good when it's good, but a lot of the times it's kind of dead in the water. Doesn't do that much. And you'd think you'd want it against more things like Amalia, they bring back the creatures from the graveyard with Return to the Ranks, I think it is. But you can't really bring it in because you're fighting against a very creature-centric deck. And if you're bringing this in, it feels awful. It's one of those things that a lot of people have been dropping this card for that reason.
Yeah, it's a trap. It's a trap against that matchups, and genuinely, I only bring it in for 2, and I still think it's incorrect to even have it in the sideboard, which is why, like, as we were discussing before, I actually took it out.
So your sideboard has evolved now. For Luis can kindly change it to your new sideboard. If we just talk very quickly about the small changes you've made. And then we'll go into sort of like bad matchups, good matchups before we finally wrap this pod up, because it's not going to be a featured episode. So if Luis Kenley puts the new version up, and just quickly go into your changes and a quick reason why of those changes.
Yeah, so the main board hasn't changed. It is the exact same. I don't think I'd change a single card in the main board. The sideboard, however, has... So we've taken out 1 Bailoff. Waste Not is becoming less and less of a deck. That's the main reason why Bailoff's there. Yes, it's good against aggro, but there is better aggro cards. Namely why I'm changing it for Lovestruck Beast. Very good blocker. Making a 1/1 again. So you're having 2 blockers for basically 4 mana. Is really good against your aggro matchups.
Yeah.
We have then also taken out the 2 Unlicensed Haste. As I said, honestly, didn't feel it was really powerful enough in Phoenix. Don't really see too much Greasefang. Like, I think in Greasefang is probably the most important one. But I'm adding an extra Stone Brain on this. So, again, to help us with quite a lot of our combo matchups.
Yeah.
And also helps against probably our worst matchup was... but we'll discuss that in a moment. And then Frillback, Tranquil Frillback. This is just a nice, flexible card, I feel like. So it is 3 mana, but you can pay extra green. If you do, you can either destroy a target artifact or enchantment, exile target player's graveyard, or gain 4 life. So it's a 3/3 for 3 mana. So it's still good against, like, for example, your aggro matchups. It's a good blocker because you can pay for 4, gain 4 life. Play it in Phoenix, get rid of the graveyard if you need to, or even get rid of an enchantment as well. Like, so it has a lot of versatility, and I don't mind having it as a one-off. It could be something else, but I like the idea of just that being able to switch around and play with this quite a bit.
I like that. Quick question for you though, Stonebrain, game 2 and 3 against Phoenix. What are you naming?
I'm not bringing it in against Phoenix.
Oh, well, there you go. I should have looked at your sideboard plan, shouldn't I? Excellent. So
with Phoenix,
sorry, go on.
With Phoenix, the Stonebrain is just a little bit too slow. They have counter spells. You could bring it in for Treasure Cruise. I've tried that and it didn't feel great because like they're still able to cycle through all the deck and get the cards that they need.
Yeah.
So I feel like that was the only card I couldn't name that I really cared about.
Yeah, fair one. So before we wrap this up, what decks do you want to see in an ideal world? And what decks would you just like to completely avoid if you could?
So I think so I'll go with the worst matchups first. Our top 5 worst matchups. Amalia is probably our worst matchup, and that's the reason why the Stonebrain comes in.
I think Amalia is most people's worst matchup, to be fair. The deck is broken.
It's really hard to break up that combination altogether. I'd say second is Control. If, for instance, they have the right tools for us, and Mono Green is becoming known now. It's not like, for example, a Surprise deck. There was like 4 or 5 players, for example, playing it in the last RCQ I was in.
Okay.
Spirits, although this is not a deck that we see too often nowadays, Spirits were always a good deck. They're a very good tempo deck. They're able to counter everything for us and still beat us in the air.
Yeah.
Same with kind of humans on that kind of front as well. And then Prowess. Prowess is probably the worst aggro matchup for us.
Right, okay. Interesting.
What I'd like to see... no, it's fine. So I would like to see probably... I don't mind seeing Phoenix. I think Phoenix is a good matchup. I wouldn't say it's our best matchup now, because Phoenix players are becoming more and more relevant, bringing in disdainful strokes, as I know very well, losing in the final to it. Couldn't play around it. Not that I'm salty or anything like that.
No, of course not.
I think Lotus is a very good matchup, and Quintus combo. Even though these two are both combination, combo decks and that, we are faster. We have, in game 1, it's probably about 50-50. But with game 2 and 3, we are way more ahead because we know then, okay, I'm mulliganing for either to kill you very quickly or even the Stone Brain or ways to find that kind of combinations. And then I would say Vampires is an okay matchup, and then I'd probably go with Mono Black. Actually, Mono Black is a very good matchup. Yeah, you can discard everything, but I can rebuild a hand very quickly. They have a bit of removal and that, but because it's a little bit different than normal control decks.
Yeah.
Whereas Thrillback, I'm plotting and that, and I will just take my time and be able to then go, right, okay, you've stripped out my hand, let's draw back and be able to then combo off.
Cool. Right, so
Fair enough.
we've gone over the deck. We've gone over the sideboard. We've gone over your updated sideboard. What we'll do is we'll attach your updated list. I know at the beginning of the podcast we showed you your RCQ or your RCQ season list, but we'll update we'll post the updated version. We'll attach the sideboard guide. I know this might have come a bit later on in the season, the Pioneer season, but I still do think that the Pioneer is still a relevant format and people still enjoy it. And I feel like this deck, particularly in the wake of the Khan ban, seeing a resurgence is super interesting. So is there any final thoughts you boys would like to make before I close this up?
I think this is not the last iteration of Mono Green. People have been playing Green White, for example, for Elish Norn and stuff like that. I can see splash of colors that can happen quite a lot. I think this deck will definitely evolve even after the RCQ, and to be honest, probably in the RCs you will see different kind of variations. The main board mostly will be the same, but you will see different parts definitely establishing.
Yeah, Elish Norn's really interesting, particularly in the mirror. I suppose there'll be a bit of a mirror breaker without the pun there, but yeah, Luis, anything for yourself?
It's absolutely breaker.
No, that we covered pretty much everything. It seems great. Don't forget, guys, if you want to get your filled up Duffy salt shakers, we'll be having those in the merch store soon. No, I think this is pretty good. I hope everyone that listened through to everything and is looking to play a deck like this is taking Duffy's advice on and enjoys all the guys that are coming with it. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe as well, everybody. We do appreciate it. It helps us out a lot. Leave a comment down below and tell us how much you hate big mana decks and how they are the worst thing for Magic ever. And yeah, that's everything I got.
Do you know what? If this deck is smashing up Amalia, to get it right, Amalia,
then you got it. Congratulations.
This is the good guy, in my opinion, or good gal, depending on how you look at it. So like Louis says, thank you very much for joining us. Duffy, thank you very much, and good luck in the rest of the season, and hopefully we'll see you back on that Pro Tour stage for your hat trick.
Thanks for having me, and enjoy, everybody.
Take care.
Bye.